Hi there, everybody. My name is Abigail Lyles, and I'm in a project class in which we're working collaboratively to make a game over about what? Well, it's throughout the semester, so we've got some time, but there's 7 of us. We're working on it together. I'm the tech lead, so I'm doing most of the programming. I'm doing all the mechanics programming. I did a little bit of materials programming, but my secondary programmer is handling a lot of the materials and sequencing, and I'm focusing on like gameplay mechanics and fixing those up and debugging everything else. So if you see my other videos, you've probably seen a lot of progress over the past several weeks. But here's another video for progress, just to sort of show what's changed in the past. I think it's over 2 weeks now since the last video was out. I think that was on the 12th, so it's been like 13 days, almost 2 weeks. So let's catch everybody up on what has changed in the past few weeks, and by the end of this week we'll have alpha going. So I'll also be uploading a video of that build. I've done a test build of the game already, and everything seems to build correctly. All the mechanics seem to work the same. I adjusted a few things with the sound effects just because for the build it was more obvious that they weren't going off at quite the right time. So I tried to fix that. It might need some more adjustment, but we'll play it by ear, haha, sound ear, and we'll make it the best it can be. So if you've seen this game before, you're probably like, whoa, your main character's moving. And yes, she moves now. There's actually a more up-to-date version of the cycle in progress with some things fixed by the animation team. But you can see she's moving, and that's pretty cool. So yeah, the art team did a really nice job with her model and her rig and her animations thus far and little footprints. And we sort of have an idea right now that like maybe when she's colored we can do like some paint splashes in the different colors, but right now we're focusing on getting all our basic cycles out by alpha and just making the level 1 the best gameplay loop it can be right now. This is the test level, so this definitely isn't level 1, this is just sort of the test level that I put together in order to make sure that everything is working and debugging everything here, and we can just migrate the assets from here in the overall files to sort of prevent a lot of like grief in terms of migrating. So here's our character. She has her paintbrush now. Right now I've turned off collisions with it just because it was getting in the way of some of the character movement, and it was able to knock some of the enemies back, which I actually might, because the team and I talked about this, we might actually sort of like program it back in to knock back enemies maybe when she swipes the brush when she's painting something, because I did kind of like the knockback that it gave them when I was messing around with it. Is kind of a neat way to deter the enemies a little bit. So right now we just avoid the enemies and run from them, but sort of over the next week, probably more when we're working on beta, we're going to think maybe there's some different ways we can interact with enemies that make the game more interesting. So if you've seen this before, you kind of know how the drill goes. Here's our colors. We can only select colors that we've picked up from the world so far. So we've picked up red, and you can see the paint bar in the top left corner. Once that's filled up, we're able to paint an active object. And so this is one of the red objects. You can see that a material outline has been added now, and that is props to our materials coder, secondary coder on the team. And it's just sort of like a variation of the black outline around everything, but it changes when the player comes within range. And we had a bit of an issue with debugging those, but I took care of that. So you see, she did a good job matching up the colors to like how it looks on the paint palette. So the shades of green and red, they stand out. And they also match the colors that we have on the character. She did a really good job color coordinating that. So here's our red texture. She's moving around. I'm pretty sure you've seen all the textures if you've seen the October 12th update. But yeah, so first let's paint an object. So now that we have enough things to paint an object, here's our jump pad. You can see the square matches the square on our hat. So let's paint it, and we can jump on this now, and it'll bounce us up. And we don't have any secondaries yet, so we can mix some secondaries. And right now we don't have any red left, so we can only mix blue and yellow. And I added some things to make the current UI a lot more user-friendly. Before, you were just kind of clicking on buttons to mix them, and that was not good design. That was sort of what I call, you know, base programming design, which is that usable? Yes, it does what we want it to. But now it's actually, you know, playable instead of just usable. So we can see when blue is selected, when blue is deselected. We can't select red right now because we don't have any. When yellow is selected, when it's deselected. And I added a little bit of tint of the complementary colors to like little paintbrush icons that pop up when you select a button. I think it just helps them stand out a little bit more, or it's like slightly more interesting than if it was just like straight black there or straight white there. So if we select them both, we get another little paint brush, and that's the green, but we didn't have enough blue to mix a lot of green. But here's our green color. And you can see that the star on her hat matches the star on the ramps that need to be painted green. You know, we slide back down that ramp. The paintbrush is kind of going through everything right now. So does that look great? It doesn't look awesome. You know, it's not a huge, you know, gaping issue. But it's something that if we're able to fix that, that would make the game look better. So I'm gonna keep messing around with the collisions on that brush and just how it looks. You know, functionality is the most important thing at this moment as we're getting to alpha, but once we get everything laid out, the visuals and polishing them will become a much higher priority. You should already be doing that throughout the game, I think, but you know the drill. Whatever colors we have are able to paint the world passively around us. You know, we have red and green, which are coded to this. That tree didn't paint correctly because we don't have any orange. And since this is the test level, I didn't really lay out the paint pickups to coordinate to every single object out here. So we have this little debug button, which is to add primaries. And that won't be present in the game because this isn't a level you're going to play in the game. This is just kind of a sandbox for me to test. But, you know, we're able to see the different things, debug as we need, stuff like that. So, you know, we're still painting things. We have a lot of good models in. We have the animations in. It's all starting to really come together. But we're going to get a lot more sound effects in over alpha, get our music in level 1. The design team's still working on making the full gameplay loop through level 1, and I'll be helping them code any new assets that come in because I'm in charge of doing the passive coloring and also just fixing any bugs that pop up. You can never be too certain about when you're done debugging. I don't think you're ever done debugging, honestly. But it is a pretty enjoyable process to go in and fix little things and make the game better bit by bit. So you can just see I'm sort of just messing around and painting the world, and we'll mix our other colors while we can, show you some more functionality of the new menu. You can see the purple button. You can click on it a few times. I think one thing that we're going to definitely do in terms of like the different buttons is that instead of just having like these little paintbrushes show up, I think what might be good is to have like maybe, you know, the color of the heart around the paintbrush, or the color of the star, or not the color, the shape of the star or the heart behind the paintbrush, maybe like a plain white since you don't have to select it and deselect it to mix. So we'll get that fixed up. Maybe if we have time in beta, try to make that menu more interesting. I know we were talking about doing a thing where like maybe in the center you can see like the color sort of coming together when you click like red and like blue and like sort of purple forms there. Maybe you have to like click on it to mix it. And I think that I can definitely figure out how to do that if we have the time for it. It'd be something sort of like, you know, some materials shifting on a timeline and presented on the UI. We have some sound effects on the door, which I like. Might be a little biased because I helped debug those. But it's been really cool being able to help all the pieces come together and help make the game. And next week I'm going to, over the next week, since a lot of the base mechanics are laid out, I'm going to be doing a lot of modeling and adding some effects in myself just to help pull it together as the team's really busy. So, enemy AI. I believe this is one of the main things I went over when we did our little presentation on the 12th. Or my presentation for the channel on the 12th at least. Which is just some things about the enemies and like them chasing me around. You know, there they go. And I have like my special blue area. When I paint the blue area and I stand in it, then I'm safe and they don't notice that I'm there. I also have it to where if they touch the blue area, they also forget you're there, which might be kind of interesting in terms of like, you know, maybe we have like segmented areas as we continue working on this, and they can't pass through the different barriers even if they spot you at a distance. You know, they come towards the barrier, they forget you as they start to pass over it. But speaking of enemies, we have some functionality now, so let's get a look at what that looks like. I added in a post-processing effect to show when we've lost our color. And though the fountain model isn't done yet, that'll be hopefully Wednesday, because I'm going to be doing the fountain model. Because our team's pretty busy. So hopefully by Wednesday we'll have the functionality for like the fountain. Well, functionality for the fountain is pretty much done. I just need like the visuals on it. So once I get that modeled, then that'll be pretty easy to code. But yeah, I'm sorry, I've been running around the whole time while just kind of yammering on. So let's show what the enemies do. So first hit from an enemy, that knocks you back, that takes your color. So I'm colorless right now. I can't, you can see my raycast is going. I can't paint anything. I can technically select a color, which I think I should disable those buttons. Honestly, as we're paused, you might even see if maybe like we can remove them entirely or gray them out or something. That'd be interesting. But since, you know, I can't paint anything, I can't do anything because he sapped my color. So this is going to be a fountain, and fountains are where you go to restore your color. So I cast that to the fountain, and everything's back to normal. Everything's nice and cheery again. And also, when you last click a fountain, it serves as your last checkpoint. If you haven't hit a fountain yet, your last checkpoint will be where you spawned in the world. We don't want you like respawning at like 000 or anything, so we set that right away. So let's see, this guy hits me. I get knocked back a little bit, gives me a bit of a chance to escape. You know, we're gonna have a little hurt animation and a noise just gonna go like oof or something like that. If he hits me again, then I am transported back here. I had a collision. You know, there's some little bits of issues with the collisions there. Before it, I had it just fine, but it seemed to hit at a bit of a distance, so I reset it. Or not reset it, but I, you know, narrowed the collision a little bit so it didn't feel unfair. But now he's doing that thing where he sort of stands at my back. And, well, it happens less frequently now, but I'll continue looking into that because it's like a minor thing in terms of functionality, because if you move around and try to get away from him after he's standing at your back, you know, he'll still get you. But it doesn't look great. It doesn't make a ton of sense to the player. It's a little distracting, so I'll keep trying to fix that. And you see, he hits me. Come on, look at me, buddy. Back at the fountain, I can restore my color there. So the plan is to, when I model the fountain, I'm gonna have like, you know, some water going on, and the color of that will change. It'll be like a paint fountain depending on like what color you were when you painted it. So that's gonna be sort of a customizable element to the game. We have like some other ideas for customizable elements in the works, but we'll see if we can get those done by alpha. But I think that those... What is this? I ran into the yellow as I was pushing that and it changed the outline. Yeah, another little minor thing we can fix, but we'll keep working on it. You know, satisfying little bugs to fix, minor as they may be. You know, because that can always be distracting to the player. So last thing is our materials programmer. She put in a sequence. This is going to be like a shrine. And the shrine is the goal at the end of the level, is to paint the shrine and restore some color, get rid of the ink. splotted around the end of the level. Those are what the greevils or enemies are made of, ink. And this is gonna look much cooler once you use the model out. It's got like horns on it. It's like a crystal beneath. It's a really neat concept. So when we paint it, we have this dissolve material that like goes down over time, and that's gonna look really neat when everything's all like slimy and covered in horns there. We're gonna see that exterior peel away and this like prism beneath. And since the toon shader was altered to, you know, get the skybox back to normal, I did like the effect that it had on the skybox before where it darkened, but taking that away makes it more customizable, so we're going to see what we can do with the skybox to enhance the little world that we've created. One idea that we've tossed around, I think it would be really cool if we sort of had like a gray sky, a very desaturated sky, and then after the shrine is cleared, we sort of have like this rainbow spitting out there, some effect like that, and the sky gets some of its color back. But more or less, we've made a lot of progress in the past 2 weeks. Most of the base mechanics have remained relatively the same, but, you know, there's been a lot of little bugs and little things to fix, and player experiences to enhance. So now that we have something more stable going on, it's been fun to have some people stop and playtest and improve from there. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll have a new video next week of the alpha build, and that will be really cool.